What is up, IDP Army? It's your man Jordan Rains. And before we get the show started today, I wanted to just take a 15-second moment of silence in remembrance of the young man who lost his life this weekend for a father, a husband, a man who lost his life this weekend. And Dwayne Haskins, former Ohio State quarterback, he died this weekend in Florida. So I just want to take a moment to remember him and mourn with Steeler Nation and in remembrance of him. So. Okay, guys, life is short. Don't take any day for granted. Tell the ones you love that you love them. Touch grass, as some would say, but live life to the fullest. And by all accounts, he did do that. So, RIP to Dwayne Haskins. Our thoughts and prayers are with your family and Steelers Nation. We are mourning with you today. So, let's go ahead and hop into the IDP Army podcast. We're going to do a news episode today, update you guys on some IDP fantasy relevant news. Not a crazy deep dive episode or anything today, but we are gearing up towards a full bore fantasy season. So let's go ahead and get it started.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
All right. Like I said, today's show, we're just going to be covering the news and notes. Not a whole lot of movement. Wanted to talk about a few random odds and ends. And if anybody has any questions out there, if they are watching the live stream, go ahead and hit us with those. First and foremost, thank you for joining us. If it's your first time joining the show, this is the IDP Army podcast where we talk mostly IDP, all fantasy football. We have other shows on our podcast network. This is the primary show of our YouTube channel and our primary brand. We're growing this thing out, and we're glad you're here with us on this journey. Be sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that bullshit. So we won't even waste your time with that. Let's jump right into it. Probably the biggest piece of IDP news that I saw, we're going to kind of go in reverse order. One is Tyron Matthews remains a free agent right now. He did have a call, quote unquote, with the Eagles. I'm really not sure what happened to break down with the Chiefs, why he is not going to maintain his position there, but he's still a free agent. He's had some good years. He's been a solid defensive back one, not many times in his career, but he has. But he's been a very reliable defensive back too, Tyron Matthews. So if somebody's undervaluing him because he's still unsigned, I think he has a couple more years of good quality IDP fantasy football left in the system. And as he gets older, he may turn into a bit more of a tackler than he has been traditionally in his career. So don't sleep on Tyron Matthew just because he's still unsigned somewhere. It might be a good opportunity to go acquire Tyron Matthew in IDP fantasy football. So I wanted to touch on him. Another player I wanted to touch on, this is kind of two sides of the same coin. Troy Reeder signed a one-year contract with the Los Angeles Chargers, joining Brandon Staley, again, his former coach for the Rams a couple of years back. You will remember Reeder has had some very good spot starts in the NFL. I believe he had even one game up to 50 points, a multi-sack game. He is a tackle monster. And, Brandon Staley went out and got his guy. They did struggle a little on run defense last year. And by a little, I mean quite a bit. So he went out and got Troy Reeder. I don't know if they're going to address this position more in the draft. They could. They could still also get another free agent, as well. There are always good linebackers kind of just floating around out there. And this has kind of filled that spot left by Kazir White, who is now with the Eagles. So keep your eye on Troy Reeder. There's going to be some very good fantasy value there for him, I have a feeling, because if you look at the aforementioned Kazir White last year, I believe he had right around 140 tackles. That's a lot of tackles. And he finished as a top 12 linebacker, kind of low key. Not a lot of people talked about him in that fashion. And you have to remember, too, the season prior, 2019, he also had a really, really hot start of the season and was a top 12 linebacker through the first 7 or 8 weeks, I believe, maybe even longer than that, before he got injured and kind of lost his role. So, Kazir White, good linebacker. Now he's gone. Troy Reeder filling his space. And this kind of brings me to the other side of that coin, and that is going to be Is it time to move on from Kenneth Murray? Is this an indictment on Kenneth Murray? We have 2 years of subpar play now. He did have a shoulder injury as a rookie, but he struggled in run defense last year by all accounts. And even if you watched him play, he wasn't even the leading tackler on his team. And this is a first round draft pick. This was supposed to be one of the best linebackers, coming out a couple of years ago out of OU. So is this an indictment on him? Probably to a degree. And is it time to give up on him? He's not gonna be, and I was very bullish on him last year. I thought he might enter that realm of a low end or even a high end linebacker too, potentially linebacker one, just because of the pedigree, but it just did not happen. And again, I will say he did also some of the news I'm seeing is he did have an ankle surgery at the end of this season, but that doesn't really make me feel better either. It's 2 years of injury, 2 years of subpar play, and I have a feeling that Troy Reader is going to outplay him. So Troy Reader is another player that you can probably low key find on waivers or get in throw along trades in IDP at this point. Um, and, even though it's a 1-year contract, if he proves himself, we've seen linebackers like this, Denzel Perryman, Camu Grugier-Hill, these guys that kind of just move around. Who was the Chargers linebacker? Mike Davis, he played for the Chargers a couple of years ago. They have a way of maintaining value, even though they may seem like they're tumultuous sort of player. So keep an eye on Troy Reader, maybe even be aggressive and go look into getting him, especially if you are a Chargers fan, because this defense supposedly is supposed to be the greatest thing ever. It's supposed to be that last year too, but I won't get in the weeds. You guys know how I like to go crazy sometimes on my takes. So I'm going to take it chill on my man Brandon Staley and that defense right now. Before we get too far into this, I do want to say I do want to do a giveaway, and this is going to be for anybody. Actually, I'm going to be doing a Patreon only giveaway. So if you want to join our Patreon, go ahead and do that. Hop into the Black Ops tier. You'll get access to the Ultimate IDP Index, which is all of my tiered IDP rankings, production profiles for all the players. There's all kinds of good stuff in there, contract information, buy, sell, what you should be offering in a dynasty league as far as trade values, etc. So that's a really good resource. Hop in there. But I'm going to be doing a t-shirt giveaway. I do have these really nice IDP Army t-shirts that I bought last year, and I was going to try to sell them, as a merch. But I think the best thing to do is just give them back to the community, and that's what I want to do. So I'm going to have 2 ways you can do it. One, we're going to do a giveaway for anybody in the Patreon, and that's just going to be every month. So every month I'm going to be giving a t-shirt away to somebody in the Patreon. Any tier, doesn't matter. So everybody in there is going to have a chance to get a shirt. The other way, and this one's just going to be right now, go leave a 5-star rating and a review on Spotify and on Apple iTunes, and then leave us a little review. And we're going to take those names at the end of. We might do the reveal on draft night, and we'll announce the winner then. I know we're going to do some giveaways then as well. So that's how you can get some IDP Army merch. This stuff's limited edition. It hasn't been for sale. I've only given a few pieces out to some fantasy football friends, content creators, some of the guys on the team, etc. My wife, you know how that goes. So, but this is your chance to get a piece of the original OG IDP Army gear. So go ahead and do that. And while I'm talking about the draft, I wanted to segue into that. The offensive points boys and myself, the whole semi-pro fantasy squad. Hopefully we'll get Duchesne's in there too. We are going to be doing a live stream of the NFL draft like we did last year, cracking a few beers, cracking a few jokes, having fun, just being fans for the night, hanging out with y'all. If you want to hop in there with us, we might get a space running on Twitter as well. We might get a live thing going in Discord. I don't know. We're going to go as crazy as we can, but I know they have at least one jersey giveaway planned for that night. So make sure you stop by. You could at least maybe get a chance to win the jersey. And that'll be the night that I announce who wins the IDP Army t-shirt. So go ahead and, like I said, be entered in that, just be in the Patreon. Or the other way you can do it is leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple iTunes or on Spotify, and we'll go Scouts honor. I'll believe you if you say you did it. So there we go. That was some easy stuff right there. So let's get back into what you really want to talk about, fantasy football. Calais Campbell closing in on that 100 sack mark. I think he only needs 6. Did re-sign with the Ravens. Not a fantasy relevant guy anymore, really, because the sacks really come in kind of burst, or not even burst for him anymore. They just don't really come. You don't know when you can predict one happening. Maybe if he's playing a backup quarterback as a streamer, you could play him. But Calais Campbell's past the days of being an every week starter, unless there's caveat for all of that. If you're in a super deep league, maybe you could. So IDP relevancy, he's going to be a 0 DL target, a guy you're going to want to stream, but you're not going to go out of your way to put him on your team, I don't think. The Browns re-signed Ronnie Harrison. He's everybody's favorite sleeper, including mine, every year at the safety position. But it's because he's an impact player. If you go look at his production profile in the Ultimate IDP Index, you can see that Ronnie Harrison, for the amount of snaps that he plays, he does get a lot done out there. And a lot of safeties, you're relying on just the tackles, but he is an impact player. Interceptions, tackles for loss, even pick sixes sometimes. Sacks. I mean, he's an all-around safety. And this Browns team that we've has been right on the edge, it feels like forever, on that defense anyway. He's a guy that they like, and I like that they like him. And we've been talking about an IDP for a few years, so that's good. We like the continuity there. John Johnson's playing that deeper role. Grant Delpit was kind of in and out of the lineup last year. Ronnie Harrison is the guy on the Browns if I'm going defensive back that I want to get. So that's good. Other IDP relevant stuff. And I'm just reading this stuff, I'm kind of keeping up with you guys as well on NBC Sports Edge. I did see that Robert Spillane did re-sign a year deal with the Steelers. He's a great backup. I mean, that's about the best thing you can say for him, and that's what he's doing. So, if Devin Bush or whoever our other inside linebacker is right now is missing time, he might even have worked his way into a starting role because we're so thin at linebacker. I don't know, but definitely still on your radar, and he's been on our radars for a couple of years now. And similar to similar to a Reader, where we've had spot starts where Spillane has blown up for 30, 40. I think he's even had close to a 50-point game at one point over Devin Bush for a minute, but I mean, that was silly talk. Got a little comment here from the YouTube channel. Travis Knott says, finally moving my league from Yahoo to Sleeper for IDP. Good move, pro move. This is also a good time to segue into another short conversation I wanted to have. You guys know that, kind of how I got my chops in the IDP fantasy world and just in the fantasy world in general, and how I've kind of maintained my, level of credibility and respectability while also just being myself, is I did the work. And what I mean by that is, when I came into the IDP fantasy football scene, there was no unified, balanced scoring system that made sense to people, that would help people onboard people into this type of fantasy football easily and help them learn how to actually play it, with the players provided on defense. I took on the challenge of creating a scoring system that made sense. IDP 123, named it, branded it, did tons of research on it, wrote multiple articles on multiple fantasy sites for it, pitched it, the concept to Sleeper over almost a year, and they adopted it as the default IDP fantasy scoring for their platform. Sleeper is the #1 fantasy football platform for Dynasty and for redraft, and it's going to be the #1 fantasy platform before too long. They chose to adopt IDP 123 scoring out of merit. Now, and this is a little tangent. This is probably the last time I ever bring this up. But you guys know that also in the IDP world and fantasy world, there's been some contention about me, myself, and I. And that's cool, whatever. People can say what they want to say about me. But they can't say that I didn't do the work, and they can't say that this didn't make a difference. One of the things that some of these people did choose to say when I was doing this was that I was doing this out of vanity, which I find hilarious, because if you go look, and they said I wanted attention and vanity, and it did not need to happen. You can go check the tweets. They're out there. Here we are 2.5, 3 years later. All of these exact same people have now not only created their own IDP fantasy football scoring system that they promote. If you look at the name of these scoring systems, they've literally named them after their own brands. I don't understand what I did to really deserve some of the ridicule and some of the crap, some of the things these people have decided to say about me. There's no vanity in this. There was a problem, and I fucking solved it, okay? And it's funny to watch some of these guys, again, the same people who said it didn't need to be fixed, now creating their own versions, and then people that said I was in it because I had a big head, literally naming it after their own brands and companies. IDP fantasy football community, if y'all know what the fuck's up, you know what the fuck's up. Sleeper saw the value. You see the value. IDP 123 scoring. That's it. That's it. And it's funny because a lot of these scoring systems are what I would call IDP 123 adjacent scoring systems. I did all the work. Okay. They took these numbers and they tweaked them just a tiny bit and called it their own. That's cool. That's fine. Whatever. Like I said, this is the last time I'm ever going to fucking bring this up. But if you know, IDP 123 is the beast fucking knees. All right. And I'm happy everybody else is finally, I'm glad I got to blaze the trail for y'all. And y'all want to name your little scoring systems after yourselves? Be my guest. All right. That's cool. Moving on. Kenneth Murray, like I said, did have the ankle surgery, is recovering from it. Kareem Jackson re-signed a 1-year deal with the Broncos. It's kind of he's a veteran leader. He's not necessarily somebody I'm looking for as a defensive back 1 or 2, but he's definitely a player that I'm going to consider playing as a flex every single week. Probably in most of my dynasty leagues. Getting up there in age, 34 years old, but we have seen a lot of older productive safeties. I always refer back to Antoine Bethea in this instance, but he was a good older safety. Jordan Poyer as well, getting up there. I always say defensive players, I feel like, age out of the NFL better because they play a reactionary game, and a lot of that can be kind of muscle memory, instincts. Like Bobby Wagner talks about it all the time. He's watched so much tape, and Tom Brady talks about it all the time. He's been in so many situations. It's almost like he already knows what's going to happen. And I feel like defenders have a little bit more of a gracing out period because that instinct pays off. If you think you know what's going to happen and you can trust your instincts, I mean, again, look at guys like Tyron Matthews, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jordan Poyer. These guys have instincts, things you can't teach that make them valuable. Harrison Smith, he's going to play in the NFL until he wants to quit. You know what I mean? Look at Malcolm Jenkins. He just retired. I think he's like 36. Again, strong safety. His instincts kept him as one of the most productive safeties up until he chose to walk away. So don't sleep on these a little bit older defenders. Kareem Jackson could have some good value this year. But like I said, I'm in on him as like, a defensive back 3 type of guy probably. All right. Any questions? Hit me with them real quick. Like I said, this isn't going to be a super long episode. I just kind of wanted to update you guys on what we have going on. Like I said, we have the draft live stream coming up soon. I do want to get you all some merch, so I did want to give the giveaways away, give some takes on the things, but honestly, this is like the dead zone of the fantasy season because not a lot of stuff is going on. So we're just kind of waiting for the draft. And then as soon as the draft comes through, we're going to start our series, on every single team. I'm going to break them down. We're going to start doing more, not just like mock drafts, but we're going to start doing more underdog drafts as well. Underdog drafts. So for best ball and all that. So it's going to be a good time. The fantasy football season really begins with the draft, and that is 17 days away. So we are getting hyped for that. Speaking of which, I did have someone ask me the other day, why I didn't have my rookies in the rankings yet. I'm not going to put my rookies in the rankings until for IDP players or for offensive players until I see where they land. If you want that, there are lots of people out there that have it. If you really need it, go get their opinion, okay? Because they've probably put a lot more time, thought, and energy into it at this point to get it accurate. I could just throw them in there for you, but that's not going to be fair to you. When I put them in there, they'll be because I know where they landed and kind of how I'm projecting them for the year. That's offense and defense. Now, taking all that in, Aiden Hutchinson, Kayvon Thibodeau, Kyle Hamilton, Devin Lloyd, excuse me, and then Nakobe Dean. Those right now, according to my man Billy from the Offensive Point podcast, seem to be the top 5 IDP most relevant players coming into this draft. So keep an eye out for those guys. If you are in an early, rookie draft and you just need names, and you want to get somebody top of the first or mid, or not top of the first, top of the second, back of the second, that area, after you get your offensive players, those are the guys you're going to be looking for. Again, we will get them sorted into the index as we see fit after the draft. We're going to be on that shit. Like I said, draft night, we're going to party, but as soon as that's over, it's grind time. It's back to work. We want you guys to win your fantasy football championships. We want to win our fantasy football championships. We want to have a good time doing it. Actually, Travis, what defensive players do you really like this year? I'm assuming you mean rookies. And like I said, those are the only ones I've really even heard about. And I'm trusting Billy's analysis because he's my college football guy. I don't watch a lot of college football. That's Billy's world. He loves it. He's good at it. Since the day I met him, fucking probably 10, 11, 12 years ago, he's been a college football guy. So I trust his evaluations on players coming in and out. We're going to get those in. Another guy you can also check out is Bob Van over with the Dynasty Rewind. He's got a good eye for some rookie prospects. So showing some love to my Dynasty Rewind brothers, to my man Bob Van, the IDP man. You already know. Come chill with us in Canton. I also wanted to give you guys an open invitation. We are going to have the whole squad in Canton, okay, for the Fantasy Football Expo. The dates on that are the first or second weekend of August, I believe. We'll be out there. Okay, Travis says not rookies. Who do I really like this year that's not rookies? I mean, honestly, it's always TJ Watt. He should be the 101 always, okay? But some players that I think are getting a little bit faded out for no reason. One of them will be Josh Allen. We did see him kind of surge back to his former rookie kind of glory, where he was putting up some good numbers. And I think that there's a good chance that Jacksonville takes Aiden Hutchinson with his first pick, which is only going to open things up for Josh Allen more. We might get to see the best Josh Allen we've ever seen this year. I'm talking defensive end for the Jaguars, Josh Allen. We're also going to see the best Josh Allen we've ever seen, JA17, because that's how we roll in Buffalo. You already know, Bills Mafia, what up? All right, had to get that in there. Y'all know I've been a Josh Allen truther since day fucking one. Okay. Okay, so other guys that are not rookies, though, that I'm really kind of in on this year. Let me think here for a second. I mean, Jordan Brooks, you go check out my ranking shows, the last 3 or 4 episodes. There's a few guys in there that I feel like were a little pushed up compared to what the consensus would be. That'd probably be a good place to start looking. But Kazir White, I brought him up earlier. I think he's going to get that main primary linebacker job. A lot of people are kind of mocking a linebacker to the Eagles this year. I think Devin Lloyd might have been in the boys' last mock draft, might have actually ended up there. But with a rookie, you don't really ever know what you're going to get. Look at Isaiah Simmons. This might finally be his breakout year. Speaking of which, there's a player. I'll circle back to him. He's a good one. But Kazir White, I think he's a player I like a lot this year. Isaiah Simmons, if he doesn't break out this year, break the fuck out. Not like, oh, he did okay. I don't want to hear that shit anymore, okay? Like, do something, okay? I need that this year from Isaiah Simmons. But he's gotten in the perfect opportunity this year because Jordan Hicks is gone. There's really no one in his way. And we'll just have to see what happens with him. Geek Mill in the house, my Steelers brother. What's up, man? I love you, brother. How you doing? He said, I'm really intrigued by Hassan Reddick going to Philly this season from Carolina. What are your thoughts on his season and the outlook on that defense? He'll be the best pass rusher they've probably had since I've been watching football. I can't think, I know people love to give Brandon Graham a lot of credit. He got a lot of pressures and all that, but Hassan Reddick is a finisher in a way that I don't think Brandon Graham ever was. I think it's going to juice him up a lot. Problem is, it's still Philly, and I hate to be that guy, but Philly's team's trash. I'm sorry. There's no one quite as deranged as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, which is part of like what makes the Eagles culture so like totally insufferable, but also like somewhat endearing, I guess you could say. So I guess he gets to play opposite of also a player I do not like, Derek Barnett, who's basically a dirty player, just FYI. Not very good as far as I'm concerned as a defensive end. He got paid a little too much, I think, this last year. But he'll get to play opposite of him. And so, he does get a little bit of attention. But I like it. Overall, I've been on, Hassan Reddick this last year. And even when he was breaking out 2 years ago for the Cardinals, I was telling people, a lot of people were like, "Oh, pump the brakes. He's never done this." But you know how the fantasy guys are. They need to see it 4 or 5 seasons in a row before they get in on a guy, and then he's their number one player. So but I was like, buy in on Hassan Reddick, especially if people are going to talk crap on him. Same way I said about Shaq Barrett. People said, "Oh, he's not going to get 19 sacks again." I was like, he doesn't have to fucking get 19 sacks to be extremely fucking fantasy relevant. And each year since then, subsequently, he's finished in the top 13. He finished 13th this year. I think he finished 12th last year. And the year before that, he finished as the number 1 DL player, or number 2, it was he or TJ Watt. So that's 3 years in a row. He's been a top 12 performer, essentially. And after the first year, people said, I don't believe it. And after the second year, they're like, oh, it wasn't as good as the first year. So you missed all 3 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, what are we doing out here? So buying on Hassan Reddick, we know he's good. We've seen him be good. So I'm not attacking you, my guy Geek. You already know. Obviously, bringing him up, you're throwing me the little alley oop there. So, shout out to my guy Hassan Reddick. We do like him around here, big time. All right, Lewis Hill says, "Hey Geek Mill, I am in 2 of your leagues on Sleeper. What up? Hey, it's all family, it's all love around here. I'm in." I say all that. I gotta need to check on my dynasty leagues. I probably got so many offers sitting out there. People probably mad at me, but I feel, my dynasty offseason is different than a lot of people. I feel like because I like where my teams are. Like almost all of my teams, I've built to a position where I really like where they're at. So I haven't had to do a lot of trades. I'm not even worried about the draft. I draft good players, and when the ups and downs come, I don't really offload guys. I just stick with them for the long haul. Even guys that aren't performing the way they should, I'll just keep them around, like DJ Moore. I feel like a lot of people have kind of switched hands with DJ Moore over the last couple of years. Chase Claypool, I feel like he's changed a lot of hands in my leagues. Well, not my leagues, but in leagues that I've seen. because there's a variation of like what people think about them. But I keep those guys on my teams because I kind of believe in the long-term value of them. And that's how you win. I mean, honestly, it's get good players on your team and don't trade them away for a moonshot or whatever. Just get a good known commodity on your fantasy team. Keep it there. Oh, what up? Let's get a little conversation. Geek saying, what up, G? He's saying, hit me up. Got some fire trades. Lewis, y'all doing work on the show. I see you. All right. I'm gonna answer one more question and I'm gonna get off of here because, like I said, I don't want this show to drag out forever. I feel like I addressed the necessary points. Like I said, the off season right now is kind of slow. I call it content masturbation whenever you just have to constantly put out content, even though there's nothing to talk about. And I'm not about that life. So Travis Knott said, I've been playing IDP since 2015. This is the only channel that gives great analysis and advice. Really appreciate you. Oh, damn, another alley-oop. Love that. Appreciate it, Travis. That really means a lot, my guy. We do take a lot of pride in our work. We could put this down, but I feel a responsibility for what I've built here. And I feel like I owe the audience something now. Like, this isn't just about me anymore. I have a former co-host. I mean, you guys know, there's always drama going on, but I'm not going to quit on y'all. That's what I'm saying. You're not going to get a tweet from me that says, "Oh, I'm retiring from fantasy football, blah, blah, blah," get like a bunch of likes and, engagement farm and all that shit. Nah, I'm going to do this. We're going to grow IDP fantasy for real. And we're just going to do it our way, and that's, if you like that, that's awesome. And I appreciate that you recognize the value that we have here. It means a lot to us. And yeah, shout out to our man Geek Mill as well. Appreciate you, brother, being in here. A lot of Mike Williams dynasty trade offers. See, and people are coming back around. They're like, "Oh, he had 1,100 yards last year. I thought he sucked." And it's like, pay attention. You know what I mean? Just hold Mike Williams. If you've had Mike Williams the last 4 or 5 years on your dynasty team, you're not mad. I promise you're not mad. So, all right, IDP Army, that's it from me. That is it, with love from the IDP Army, from all the boys here at Semi Pro Fantasy. We love you. We appreciate you. Remember to leave us a rating and review, and we'll be back soon.